Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Beth Ann. I think we're steady. This is the first video I'm framing in our new house, and we're still living out of boxes, so I don't have anything set up, but look, there's books in the background. So anyway, I wanted to make a quick video talking about a quick visit to Montreal that I did last weekend. This is Thursday, August 18th that I'm filming. And so I was at a conference Monday and Tuesday in Montreal, but Rosie Cockshut, fellow booktuber who lives in the Ottawa area, was kind enough to drive up to Montreal and meet me. So we both arrived in Montreal on Saturday, and we ended up spending Saturday evening together and then all day Sunday until she had to catch the train back after dinner Sunday night. And it was lovely. Rosie, for those of you who know her channel, she is just as warm and delightful in person as you would expect from seeing her on YouTube. So it was just an absolutely amazing time, and definitely go check out her channel if you've somehow stumbled onto my channel and don't know who Rosie is, then definitely go check out her channel. I will link it down below because yeah, just lovely, warm personality, and she reads really interesting books and has great things to say about them. So anyway, because we're booktubers, in addition to doing touristy things like the Biodome in Montreal, where they have a number of different ecosystems indoors, you can walk freely among, well, there's paths, but you're like walking among the habitats, which is very cool. So we did the Biodome, we walked around the old town, the historic part of the city, we stumbled onto a parade of all of the different ethnic groups that live in the province of Quebec, and so it was like, you had indigenous groups, and you had Angolans and Brazilians and just all kinds of people walking along in sort of national costume, flying their flags from their home places, and often doing traditional dances and playing music, which was really cool. And we made it to a bookstore. So I only bought 5 books. I think Rosie was even more responsible and restrained and maybe only bought 4. I don't remember, but yeah, the first books that caught our eye in this bookstore, which was sort of downtown, but like on the edge of McGill University, for anyone who's familiar with Montreal, walkable from the old town. So we found this like lovely set of books from Pushkin Press that are just beautiful, and they were almost entirely short fiction from very well-known authors. So here's Chekhov, the Beauties, Essential Stories, and then a Russian writer I'd never heard of, Gaito Gazdanov, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, An Evening with Claire. This one sounds really interesting. From the, I'll just read the really quick synopsis, it's short. 2 old friends meet nightly in Paris after a separation of 10 years. Trading conversational barbs and maneuvering around submerged feelings, Claire and Kolya resume what fate interrupted. When their long-imagined romance at last becomes reality, Kolya is engulfed by memories of Russia, from a tragic and solitary childhood to the disorienting ordeal of civil war. As his haunting recollection takes shape, so too does a portrait of lost youth set against the trauma of a vanished homeland. So I thought that sounded really interesting. So those were my first 2 books. And then we wandered through the whole bookstore. So then I also ended up with some nonfiction. This is on violence and on violence against women. And this first stood out to me on the bookshelf because I sort of just scanned that title and I was like, on violence and on violence, like, what does that mean? And then, it sort of took me a second to be like, on violence and on violence against women. And so I'm really interested in that. And as the first sentence of the synopsis on the back is, why has violence, particularly against women, become exponentially more prominent and visible across the world? And so I think that's a really interesting question, because I don't think it's necessarily true that we're seeing more, particularly from a US perspective, like more violence in the US or more violence against women, but that may be true. I don't know for sure, but my perception is that these things have always been there, and now they're called to our attention a lot more than they used to be. So I'm curious to read a book about this. So the other thing I liked about this when I was reading the description is that she explicitly includes trans rights. So the second sentence says, tracking multiple forms of today's violence, ranging from trans rights and #MeToo to the suffragette movement and the sexual harassment faced by migrant women to the sharp increase in domestic violence over the course of the pandemic. This book is an agitation against injustice and a formidable call to action from the world-renowned feminist thinker Jacqueline Rose, who is the author of the book. So I like that because it's only a 2-sentence synopsis. It's like already, okay, we've got a really interesting question and we've got inclusive feminism. Sign me up. So I'm going to give this one a shot. Okay, then I picked up something that sounds really interesting, Memoirs of a Polar Bear by Yoko Tawada. And so I saw the title and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me pick it up. It's literally someone writing as polar bears. So this is Memoirs of a Polar Bear, stars 3 generations of talented writers and performers, famous stars of the literary world, the circus, and the zoo. They happen to be polar bears who move in human society. And so we follow 3 different polar bears. It's a matriarch, her daughter Tosca, and her son Nut or Newt. And he, of course, is the polar bear in the Berlin Zoo, who I think is a real polar bear. So this just sounds absolutely fascinating, and it's by a Japanese author who moved to Germany when she was 22, who writes in both Japanese and German. So I just thought this sounded like something that I have to try out. So we're gonna try it out. It sounds really cool. Okay, and then finally, this book, this was a book that was shelved facing outward, and so Rosie and I both, like pretty much at the same moment, we were like, oh, look at that cover, because I mean, look at this cover, isn't it beautiful? Rosie ended up not picking it up, but I picked it up. So this is Book of Wings by Tawhida Tanya Evanson, and this is a person who's described as a poet, dervish, and oral storyteller on the back of the book. And so I love reading novels or longer fiction that's written by people who are more known for other forms of writing. It's often really interesting to try. So this says that the author Evanson comes to terms with what it means to stand on one's own 2 feet in an uncertain world. The acclaimed Antiguan Canadian artist traces a global journey from Vancouver to the United States, the Caribbean, France, and Morocco as a relationship with her lover and travel partner disintegrates. Traveling deeper into the North African landscape, she finds herself on a path toward personal discovery and spiritual fulfillment. So this is pretty short, and it sounds like, you know, an intriguing personal journey and physical journey, but an intriguing book. So I thought I would give this a try. So that was my Montreal book haul. I feel like I was very well behaved and very restrained for only ending up with 5 books and only visiting 1 bookstore, so good job me. And yeah, I'm overdue with lots of BookTube content, like catching up on the BookTube prize and stuff. All of that will be coming down the pipeline at some point. For now, I'm just working on settling into my new home and my new job as a professor, and enjoying life a little bit before it gets hectic with the semester. All right, so I'll wrap this up. But if you've watched this video, thank you for watching. What did you think of the books that I talked about today? Have you ever been to Montreal? How much do we love Rosie Cockshut? Again, go check out her channel down below if you haven't already. All right, I will see you all in the next video. Thanks, bye.